Um, so again, today is the um, District 8 preseason coaches briefing. This session is being recorded, so if you missed any of the information, you'll have a chance to go back through it. We'll get it out to you, and also we'll share this with anybody who could not join us. Today we'll just be going over um, administration, like paperwork and key dates, how to access the key documents on the Google Drive, and we'll give you a chance for questions and answer. I'm Seth Rock. I'm administering both Charles and Calvert as a district representative this year. I'm based out of Charles County. And there's my email and cell phone. Hopping right into it, this year marks the 10th anniversary of the Sports Equity Act. Basically, 800 students, athletes from 17 school or counties will be participating in one of 9 district-wide state tournaments for tennis. The gold medalist teams from those will advance to the state tournament, which is, and mark this down in your calendars, November 7th at Loyola University. Okay, that is when the state meet will occur. Season timeline. This is really probably one of the most important slides, so I'll write this information down. September 4th, school starts, practice starts. Really, I just need you, recruiting, looking at having a first team meeting that week, organizing practices the week after, but definitely recruiting and getting your team set the week of September 4th. Then a week of practice, followed by the week of September 17th to the 21st, we'll be doing players assessments. I have a tentative schedule in mind. I'll be getting that approved ASAP and get that out to all the coaches. But we'll be doing our ratings. I'm looking at St. Charles High School this year for our ratings. And then we do have Ken coming in, Ken Griffith, to do our ratings again. So we already have somebody set up to do that. Other key dates are Wednesday, September 19th. The SOMD application for participation and the affirmation of eligibility forms will be due to me. Okay. And along with the Class A requirements, which I will also be collecting those for non-student athletes. And on the 26th, the postseeds and registration forms will be due. Now, we'll be going over those forms in a few minutes, but, of course, if you find as we get into next week and the week after that you need a little, like, you're having trouble with those, make sure you let me know as soon as possible, and we can, try to work to make sure that your team stays compliant with everything. For the season timeline, these are your basically your postseason dates. The district tournament, I'm looking at October 8th, 18th at North Point High School. I have a starting time at 12, but that's subject to change, so that there's a little leeway there. The state tournament pre-competition webinar, which you see the link for the meeting right there on your screen. It will be in the PowerPoint when you open it up too. Is October 24th, and then again, November 7th is the state tournament at Loyola University at their tennis complex. So, and below the note is, your season should be a minimum of 8 weeks. So it's important that we at least start getting organized next week, and we count, we can start the season as soon as possible. Um, all resources are available on in a Google folder. That again, when you receive this PowerPoint, you will be able to access, and they'll be there for you. So the resources include the resource guide, Special Olympics forms like the affirmation form and the application, coaches training tools, you know, to help you coach like tennis, practice management tools, and another coaching guide. So all the resources are there right in the Google Docs and for you to access um, online. And also, if you visit the coaches contact list, all of the coaches' information should be entered. And if it's not entered, try to enter it for your own school, um, and another link on this page. Um, the resource guide for tennis has a review on YouTube that's broken down into 4 parts. Part one is an overview. Then there's part two is a sport overview. Part three is administration and supplements, and part four is an individual skills competition. And it's broken down so you can access if you have any questions about the coach's resource guide. Um, there's a resource for you, to answer your questions as we go through the season. Okay, so it's questions, concerns, or discussion. Wonder if I can unmute. I know there's a chat function, so if anybody has any questions.
On the attendees.
So I guess everybody's self-muted at this point. So if you have any questions, unmute and we'll listen. If not, we will just move on. Okay, forms of registration, and just before we get into the different types of forms, like these are specific to Special Olympics, but remember that Charles County has their athletic forms and a physical that have to be turned in. Most schools have gone to online registration for sports, and they have a unified option. If not, talk to your athletic director and coach at your talk to your athletic director, but that should be the situation. So make sure that all students that participate have to have a physical on file within the past calendar year. Physicals for sports in Charles County are good for 1 year. So we'll move on to the forms for Special Olympics. Listed on your screen right now is the student athletes or the application for participation form. It's the same form that's been used since 2016, 2017. One form has to be collected for each season, and this will be turned in with the application or the affirmation of eligibility form. In red in the corner of the screen, it states they're due September 19th to me. So, the best way to get those to me is to scan them into a copier machine and put in my email, and I'll receive them, and I can go through them and make sure that they're everything's complete. And then once they're completed, I forward them on, and if not, we can, get, if we're missing a signature, take care of that. But it's very important I get them by September 19th, so I have enough time to go through them and forward them to Special Olympics and look for mistakes. Okay, on your screen now is the affirmation of eligibility form. It's the same form since we used last year. These are turned in with the application for participation. This is basically your roster with some other information on it that Special Olympics uses to verify your team. The one addition to the form, and actually I see a mistake here, unfortunately. This is actually due September 19th, not on the 26th, so I will correct that before we send out the email or before we send out the PowerPoint. But along with the affirmation form, if you're bringing like a student volunteer or somebody else with you or an extra instructional assistant with you to states, they want that person listed at the bottom of the affirmation form. So it's after your signature, and that person should be listed. Those people should be listed there. So, and again, this form is due September 19th, not the 26th. This talks about Class A clearance. All Class A documents are submitted to Rachel Maddock at Special Olympics with her email there, and it has by Wednesday, September 9th. So if you need Class A clearance, if you're a new coach, I believe we have one new coach online, and I can help her with that later. The form has to be sent or an email to Rachel Maddock by Wednesday, September 19th. This includes, just clearing you through a background check, and they're valid for 3 years. And again, I can help anybody new or who needs to renew this as soon as possible. So for those non-student athletes, passing a background check, step one is passing a background check. Once the Class A form has been completed and received, step two is passing a protective behavior training. And then for minors under the age of 17 or 17 and younger, minors younger than 18 old must also complete and submit the SOMD minor volunteer reference, so which is an additional form they have to turn in. The protective behavior training gives an option to print and the confirmation, below. I would suggest you do print that because sometimes there's questions about whether or not it's been done or received. I mean, I would actually print and take a screenshot for your records of that and hold on to it. Just so in case there's any question whether or not you took it, you do have that documentation. Okay, we'll move on to the competition review, the rules and points of emphasis. If you visit the Unified Tennis folder that we talked about earlier, again, the link is right here on this PowerPoint you'll be receiving. And you go to Coach's Toolkit. There's resources there, Special Olympics quick reference, coaching guide, videos, station cards, supporting images, and more. And it just, tennis, some people are intimidated, or some students are intimidated by it. So just utilizing these resources might make it easier to teach your team so they compete at a high level. Okay, player ratings. We rate each of our students, or each of the student athletes who come out. It's a foundation for ensuring, um, fair and even competition, so everybody has a meaningful experience. Um, it's used to evaluate the players and make sure they're playing as players of the same ability. Each player is evaluated on certain skills, including backhand serve, volley, court movement. Again, this will happen the week of 17th to the 21st. We'll have at least 2 sessions, and we will have the same rater we've had the past few years, Ken Griffith. He'll come in and he does a good job rating our teams, and making sure that everybody is playing at the level they should. Um, we try to ensure accuracy by using unified tennis guidelines to make sure everything is consistent. Raters should be familiar with observing, and Ken's done it for 3 or 4 years now, and evaluate the skill level from beginning to advanced players. And Ken is a member of the United States Professional Tennis Association. Just to make sure, um, if, and this happens sometimes somebody gets rated lower than they were the year before, and if somebody was rated as an orange ball in 2016, they should be orange or green going into the next year. So they should have dropped down to like red. So that's just one point that they want to emphasize. Unless there's like some physical regression. If you think somebody's been or inaccurately rated, contact me, and we will see if we can get that changed or remedied. Here's a ratings, the Unified Tennis Rating sheet. It's in a Google Doc, in a Google folder. It's the same form we've used the past few years. It's important that before you go to the ratings, as a coach, if you have an idea of how the player should be rated in different areas, that you can kind of pre-rate, and it makes the job of the rater a lot easier. And sometimes, like, if you have a student that takes a while to warm up, they actually might not perform for the rater. So you can kind of say, well, they actually are able to do, they move across the court a lot better, or they can make contact with their forehand, and just to ensure that it's an accurate rating. And again, we want to pre-rate everybody. That's what this slide's talking about. Assure players by providing reminders that are available and properly outfit. So make sure they have proper clothes on and that they have their rackets. When you get there, make sure that they're paired with somebody with similar ability. It really helps when, if you see the rater rating somebody, have another pair ready to go on deck, or another 4 ready to go right away. Sometimes it can take a while, so just make sure you're there with your tennis players, getting them ready and on the court. Make sure that, again, come with your rating forms already prepared, in that, and to ensure that the rater is completing them appropriately. And a big thing too is like, because there'll be other teams there, like use that time, set up scrimmages, try to get your students excited about playing tennis and a chance to play somebody else. Okay, and then moving on to the last form we'll talk about. It is the postseason registration form. And this form, and again, there's a mistake here. This is the form that should have been that is due on September 26th, and we'll get that out to you. Again, it's available to you online. Basically, you'll be pairing your athletes together and putting them on this sheet, and their combined score will determine what court and ball level that they'll be participating in. So, and also determine their competition. And it's important that that you get players as similar to ability level as possible. And when after they're rated, basically we go down the list, and if you have a 6 and a 7, they're going to be rated together, so to make sure that they have meaningful competition. 6 and 7 we equal 13, and they would become short court red ball players. So if they're rated below or a 5 or below, then they are considered individual skills, and they would have a separate competition, and their names would be put at the bottom of the page. So it's just really important that you go through that we go through the rating process correctly, and then combine teams so that they are rated fairly. It's really big that we make sure that the proper pairings as well as completion of the form when submitted. Some common errors are only the student athletes listed on the submitted student athlete affirmation of eligibility. So if they're only eligible if they're on the affirmation of eligibility form. Another error is missing a team name, missing contact information, partial names, and then the big one is non-compliant team pairings. And to help you with that, there is a YouTube link listed on this slide that you can go to help you make sure you're pairing your players correctly. Okay, so definitely take advantage of that, and it'll be really smooth. The dual participation, the COMAR regulation that states that once a student plays on a varsity or junior varsity team, they're ineligible for that same unified sport. The rule is still there. Basically, the state has said that there is a little flexibility, or can be interpreted, and that the counties can interpret it themselves. And Charles County has chosen to interpret that, and but the rule, you still can't have a varsity tennis player on your team. But if there is a circumstance you think the rule might not apply, you can bring that to our attention, and we can go to our sports administration. So lastly here's some task and reminders. Big thing is to recruit. Back to school nights are happening. All returning coaches should have posters. If not, email me and I'll get you them, and put them up. Have your meetings right away. Any outlet basically that you think you might find students that are interested, please go to. And also, visit your coach's resources online. All the forms are there, um, and the resource guide. So all the information is right there to, you can access it at any time. Um, Also, go through your equipment. I still have tennis balls that I can distribute if you need some. Um, so, you know, go through your equipment. If you need anything, contact your athletic director. But I also have some too, so contact me first. I'm tired of storing them, so I'd like to distribute them if I can. It says here free rackets. I also have rackets I can distribute that I did. I went to um, this organization, so I know some schools didn't like we never bought them, or through the years have been some of the rackets broke or were lost. So I can supplement rackets for some of the teams. Just let me know. And then here's the uniform requirements. Um, there is the necessary label that has to be on your uniforms. The Fall Sports Festival is Friday, December 28th. Contact Melissa Kelly for more details. Unified double pairs um, are welcome if there's somebody that wants to, who's interested. So, I'm the District 8 point of contact. Please contact me with any questions, and hopefully we'll be in contact soon and get the season started soon. Any questions? Okay, if not, I just got some messages from coaches anyway. So, contact me with any other questions, and we'll get the season started as soon as possible. So, thanks for joining in, and I'll be around next week. Make sure everything's going great.